Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Today we've got a brand new story to share with you. Before we begin, I want to let you know that due to some YouTube policies, I'm only able to upload one story per day on this channel. But don't worry, we've launched a new channel where we'll be uploading 2 videos per day. Make sure to subscribe there. The link is in the description. Samuel Reed stood confidently in front of the city council, his heart pounding with anticipation. At 46, he was at the peak of his career as an urban planner, and this presentation was the culmination of decades of passion and perseverance. The innovative blueprint he was unveiling for a self-sustaining community park wasn't just another project. It was a lifelong dream. Samuel spoke with conviction, his words carrying the weight of countless hours spent designing a space that could transform the neighborhood. The council members leaned in, their curiosity piqued by his presentation. When he concluded, a moment of silence hung in the air before the mayor broke into an approving smile. "Mr. Reed, your vision is exactly what our city needs," she said warmly. "We'll deliberate and be in touch shortly." Samuel nodded, maintaining his professional demeanor, but inside, waves of pride surged. As he left the chamber, he could hear whispers of admiration from the council members. The crisp autumn breeze greeted him as he stepped outside, a perfect complement to the satisfaction of a well-received presentation. He reached for his phone, expecting an encouraging message from Emma, his wife of 16 years. Instead, the text that greeted him was short and disheartening. "Working late again. Don't wait up," Samuel sighed, pocketing the phone. It was the third such message that week. Lately, Emma's frequent absences were hard to ignore, but Samuel brushed the unease aside, attributing it to the strain of their busy lives. He convinced himself that things would return to normal after the council approved his project. That evening, Samuel sat at his dining table, sketching out refinements to his blueprint. The house was eerily quiet, Emma's absence palpable. The soft hum of the refrigerator was the only sound breaking the silence, and it gnawed at him more than he cared to admit. Needing to email an update to his associate, Samuel realized he'd left his laptop in the car. Instead of retrieving it, he opted to use the shared desktop in the living room. When he logged in, Emma's email account was still open. He intended to log out, but a subject line caught his eye. "Final steps for our plan." Curiosity turned into dread as he clicked on the email. What he read made his heart stop. It was a message to Emma's mother, outlining a calculated betrayal. "Once I've moved enough money to my private account, I'll confront him and accuse him of mistreating the staff. With enough evidence, I'll make sure he's out of the picture for good." Samuel's hands shook as he stared at the screen, struggling to comprehend the words. 16 years of trust and love unraveled in an instant. White-hot fury surged through him, but he forced himself to stay calm. Confronting Emma impulsively would only tip her off. He needed a plan. The following morning, Samuel forced himself to act normal. Over breakfast, he watched Emma sip her coffee and scroll through her phone, her expression serene. It was a performance. He knew that now, but he matched her charade with a calm exterior of his own. Over the next few days, Samuel played the role of the oblivious husband, all while meticulously gathering evidence. He discovered Emma had been skimming money from their joint accounts into a secret one. His blood boiled as he found texts between her and her colleague, Marcus Shaw, a man Samuel had once considered a friend. Their messages painted a damning picture of an affair and a carefully plotted scheme to frame Samuel and take everything from him. The texts weren't vague either. They referenced dates, bank transfers, and even a timeline for their final move. Every detail stung, but they also fueled his determination. Marcus had sent Emma a text that read, "By this time next month, he'll be out of our way. You'll have it all and we can start fresh." Determined not to let them succeed, Samuel hired a private investigator. Within days, he received a file filled with damning photographs. Emma and Marcus meeting at hotels, sharing intimate moments, and laughing over drinks at secluded bars. Each image pierced Samuel's heart, but it also strengthened his resolve. He wouldn't let their betrayal destroy him. Armed with evidence, Samuel sought the counsel of Clara Mitchell, a trusted attorney. Clara's expression darkened as Samuel laid out the details of Emma's deceit. "This is serious," Clara said. "If they move first with their accusations, it could ruin your reputation. We need to act swiftly." "How swiftly?" Samuel asked, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. "We'll secure your financial assets first," Clara explained. "That secret account of hers gives us leverage. Next, we'll document everything in an airtight case and ensure you're one step ahead if they try to go public." Together, they devised a strategy. Samuel would transfer the money from Emma's secret account, secure his finances, and disappear, temporarily, before she could carry out her plan. It was a drastic move, but necessary to stay ahead. Late one evening, Samuel packed a single bag. He took only essentials, careful not to arouse suspicion. As Emma's car pulled into the driveway, he slipped out the back door, his heart pounding with both fear and determination. The home he left behind no longer felt like his own. It was merely the stage for a betrayal he refused to let define him. Disappearing into the night, Samuel resolved to rebuild his life on his terms and ensure justice was served. As the cold night air hit his face, Samuel walked away without looking back. Every step forward felt like reclaiming a piece of himself. The betrayal had cut deep, but his resolve to emerge stronger burned brighter than ever. The dim glow of a cheap motel room lamp cast long shadows as Samuel leaned back in a creaky chair. His mind raced, replaying the events of the past week. Every step, every decision, had led him to this moment of solitude and reflection. The bag beside him contained everything he needed: documents, evidence, and just enough cash to keep him afloat for the next few weeks. Samuel powered up a second-hand laptop he'd purchased earlier that day. He logged into an encrypted account and began sorting through the digital evidence he had meticulously gathered. Each file, bank statements, text exchanges, photographs, was a piece of the puzzle he intended to reveal at the right moment. Across town, chaos was brewing. Emma arrived home that evening to find an empty house. Samuel's absence was immediate and conspicuous. She called his name several times, her voice echoing through the silent rooms. When there was no response, a creeping sense of unease settled over her. She rushed to their shared computer, only to find herself locked out of key accounts. By the time Marcus arrived at the house, Emma was in a panic. "He's gone," she exclaimed, pacing the living room. "And the accounts are empty. He knows, Marcus. He knows everything." Marcus ran a hand through his hair, his composed facade beginning to crack. "We need to stick to the plan," he said, though his voice betrayed a hint of uncertainty. "If he's run off, we can spin this to our advantage. The police will believe our story if we move fast. What if he has proof?" Emma's voice rose in pitch, her anxiety threatening to spiral out of control. "What if he's already gone to the authorities?" "Then we'll deal with it," Marcus said, his tone hardening. "But panicking won't help us. We need to act now." Unbeknownst to them, Samuel's foresight had already set their downfall into motion. Hidden cameras installed in key areas of the house had captured their conversations, their scheming, and now their frantic reaction to his disappearance. Each word they exchanged added to the growing mountain of evidence against them. In the motel room, Samuel reviewed the live feed from the cameras. Their desperation was almost palpable, and he couldn't suppress a grim smile. He wasn't just one step ahead, he was orchestrating their unraveling. The storm was coming, and Samuel was ready to see it through. Emma and Marcus wasted no time taking their concocted story to the authorities. Sitting across from Detective Caroline Hayes, Emma's demeanor shifted seamlessly between fear and vulnerability. "I'm so scared," she began, her voice trembling. "Samuel, he's always been so controlling. I never thought he'd go this far." Marcus nodded solemnly beside her. "He's been unstable for months. We tried to get him help, but he refused. Then last night, he just vanished." Detective Hayes' neutral expression didn't waver, but her pen paused slightly over her notepad. "And you believe he might have harmed himself or someone else?" she asked carefully. Emma nodded fervently, tears welling up in her eyes. He threatened me once," she whispered. "I didn't think he meant it, but now, I don't know what he's capable of." Detective Hayes leaned back in her chair, studying them closely. Something about their story felt rehearsed, but she kept her skepticism hidden. "We'll open a case," she said after a pause. "But we'll need a full account of Samuel's recent behavior and any documentation you might have." "Of course," Marcus said quickly. "We'll cooperate fully." What Emma and Marcus didn't know was that Samuel had already sent Detective Hayes an anonymous package. Contained within it were the damning records of Emma's financial transfers, detailed screenshots of incriminating texts, and several clips from the hidden cameras. The evidence spoke volumes, painting a vastly different picture from the one Emma and Marcus had presented. Hours after their interview, Detective Hayes opened the package in her office. Her eyes widened as she sifted through the contents. By the time she finished, she was no longer looking at a potential victim. She was looking at suspects. The wheels of justice had been set in motion, and Emma and Marcus had no idea how swiftly their carefully constructed narrative was about to crumble. The next morning, Emma and Marcus were summoned back to the police station. This time, the atmosphere was palpably different. Detective Hayes greeted them with a thin, professional smile and led them into an interview room. "Thank you for coming in again," Hayes said, her tone deceptively calm. "There are just a few additional questions we need to address." Emma exchanged a quick glance with Marcus, unease flickering in her eyes. "Of course, Detective," she said, forcing a smile. "We're happy to help." Hayes placed a folder on the table and opened it with deliberate precision. The first image she revealed was a bank statement showing the transfer of funds to Emma's secret account. "Mrs. Reed," Hayes began, "can you explain why substantial amounts of money were moved from your joint accounts to an account under your maiden name?" Emma's face drained of color. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Marcus shifted in his seat, his confident facade cracking. "Detective, Marcus started, but Hayes cut him off with a raised hand. "I'm not finished," she said sharply. She slid another document forward, this one a transcript of the incriminating texts between Emma and Marcus. "These messages paint a very different picture than the one you've presented to us," Hayes continued. "Would you like to revise your statements?" Emma's hands clenched into fists on the table. This is out of context," she stammered. "It's not what it looks like." Hayes leaned back in her chair, her expression cool. "Then please enlighten me." As Emma and Marcus struggled to piece together an explanation, the walls of their deception began to close in. Every lie they had told, every detail they had fabricated, now stood exposed under the harsh light of the evidence Samuel had meticulously prepared. The trial moved swiftly, with Samuel's evidence forming the backbone of the prosecution's case. As the days wore on, Emma's polished exterior crumbled under cross-examination. Marcus, once cocky and self-assured, was reduced to a stammering shadow of his former self. When the verdict was read, Samuel sat in the gallery, his expression stoic. Both Emma and Marcus were found guilty on multiple counts, including conspiracy, fraud, and attempting to pervert the course of justice. As the courtroom emptied, Emma turned to Samuel, her eyes brimming with tears. I'm sorry," she whispered. Samuel met her gaze with calm resolve. "So am I," he replied, before walking out of the courtroom without looking back. In the weeks that followed, Samuel poured his energy into his community park project. The groundbreaking ceremony was a testament to resilience and renewal, attended by friends, colleagues, and city officials who admired his strength and integrity. As Samuel stood before the crowd, addressing them with a renewed sense of purpose, he realized that the betrayal he'd endured had not defined him. Instead, it had forged him into a stronger, more determined man. The past was behind him, and the future stretched ahead, bright, full of promise, and entirely his own. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed today's story. Remember, due to YouTube policies, we're only able to upload one story per day here, but don't forget to check out our new channel where we upload 2 videos daily. The link is in the description. Go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss out on more amazing content. Take care, and I'll see you in the next story.